What if everything we know about human history is just the final chapter in a far older, forgotten book? What if buried deep beneath the layers of time, beneath the bones of dinosaurs, and even further than the oldest known fossils, there once existed a civilization not human, not alien, but something ancient and intelligent? Imagine an advanced global culture that rose and fell tens or even hundreds of millions of years before us, leaving behind no trace that we could easily recognize. This is not science fiction. This is a scientific thought experiment known as the Silurian Hypothesis, a controversial and haunting question. Posed by real scientists from NASA and leading universities, would it be possible to detect the existence of an industrial civilization in the distant geological past, long before humans ever existed? As bizarre as it sounds, the question challenges everything we think we know about archaeology, paleontology, and Earth's deep history. In this video, we will journey through time, science, geology, and myth to explore this mind-bending idea. We will ask, could the Earth have hosted another intelligent species before us? And if so, where is the evidence and why haven't we found it? Or have we? To understand the Silurian Hypothesis, we must first look at the scale of time and how even the most solid monuments crumble into dust over millions of years. Take a moment to think about this. The entire span of human civilization from the pyramids to smartphones has taken place in just about 6,000 years. The Industrial Age, barely 300 years. Dinosaurs ruled the planet for over 165 million years, and we only know them from scattered bones and imprints in stone. So what would remain of us if our civilization collapsed today and 100 million years passed? Would any of our buildings, cities, or machines survive the crushing forces of time, erosion, tectonic shift, and climate cycles? Geologists say. Probably not. Most of our trace would vanish. The fossil record is notoriously incomplete, and civilizations like ours might not leave fossils at all. This raises the terrifying possibility. Could there have been a species like us, or even more advanced than us, that lived, thrived, and died long before humans even evolved, and we simply missed it? Welcome to Chapter 1, The Time Abyss, where we dive into Earth's ancient layers to understand just how little we really know about our planet's deep past. Our journey begins in the Silurian period, roughly 400 million years ago, when life was just beginning to emerge onto land. This was long before dinosaurs, before mammals, before anything resembling intelligence as we know it. And yet, the geological record from this era is patchy, fragmentary, and mostly composed of marine deposits. If an intelligent species had arisen during this period and developed technology, industry, even space exploration, how could we possibly know? Our dating methods rely on durable traces: bones, tools, plastics, radiation, and certain isotopic signatures. But Earth's crust is constantly recycled. Continents drift. Oceans rise and fall. Volcanoes wipe away entire regions. And glacial cycles grind everything to powder. In such a dynamic planet, even monumental civilizations could be swallowed and erased by time itself. The deeper we dig, the more we realize that the silence of ancient strata doesn't always mean nothing was. It could mean the evidence simply didn't survive. Or worse, it could mean we're not looking for the right clues. The truth is, if there was an advanced civilization millions of years ago, the kind of evidence they'd leave behind wouldn't be grand temples or towering skyscrapers, because even the greatest of our monuments struggle to survive a few thousand years, let alone millions. Instead, the real clues would be hidden in geological fingerprints, chemical signatures in the sediment, unexplained isotopic anomalies, odd fossil gaps, or subtle traces of synthetic materials that don't belong. So, what kind of evidence should we actually be looking for, according to the scientists who formulated the Silurian Hypothesis? Dr. Gavin Schmidt from NASA and Dr. Adam Frank from the University of Rochester, the most plausible legacy of an ancient industrial civilization would be global environmental changes similar to those we are producing now: a rise in CO levels, mass extinctions, plastic pollution, and altered sediment layers. These are the kinds of signals that might persist over deep time, For example, in our own era, human activity has generated a sharp spike in carbon emissions, producing a noticeable layer in the Earth's crust, a technofossil layer. We've created plastics that could, under the right conditions, fossilize. We've altered the nitrogen cycle through industrial agriculture. We've even left behind nuclear isotopes that might persist for hundreds of thousands of years. So if an ancient civilization had done something similar, burned fossil fuels, engaged in intensive industry, or detonated nuclear devices, we might detect it not through ruins, but through sudden, unnatural changes in the Earth's chemistry. And here's where things get even stranger. When scientists look back into the geologic record, they do find moments of rapid, unexplained environmental change. One such event occurred 55 million years ago, known as the Paleocene thermal maximum (PMA), a period marked by an abrupt spike in global temperatures, ocean acidification, and a mysterious increase in carbon isotopes in the atmosphere. It eerily mirrors what's happening on Earth right now. But was this caused by natural volcanic activity, methane releases? Or could it have been the byproduct of an industrial civilization that collapsed long ago? Mainstream science favors natural causes, of course. Yeah. But the fact that this question can even be asked opens a door most researchers are afraid to walk through. Why? Because it challenges the very foundation of human uniqueness. We believe we're the first and only intelligent industrial species to rise on Earth. The Silurian Hypothesis asks, what if we're not? What if the story of Earth is cyclical civilizations rising and falling like waves, each one vanishing into the silence of deep time? Could the PEM or other sudden climate shifts in the past be the echoes of lost civilizations? Could we be standing on the graveyards of forgotten empires, erased not by conquest, but by geology itself? And if it happened once, could it happen again? Throughout history, scattered across the globe, there have been whispers, anomalous objects, strange artifacts, and impossible discoveries that seem to defy everything we know about the timeline of intelligent life on Earth. These findings, often dismissed by mainstream science as misinterpretations or outright hoaxes, have nevertheless fueled the imaginations of archaeologists, geologists, and conspiracy theorists alike. Could they be relics not from ancient humans, but from a lost pre-human civilization long buried in the sands of deep time? Consider the infamous London hammer, a tool-like object encased in 100-million-year-old rock, or the so-called Klerksdorp, spheres of South Africa metallic, perfectly round objects discovered in Precambrian rock formations over 2.8 billion years old. What about the aluminum wedge of Aiud, found in Romania and dated by some to be over 250,000 years old, despite aluminum production supposedly beginning in the 19th century? While skeptics argue these are geological formations or contamination errors, the very idea that such anomalies exist challenges the scientific community to look harder and deeper. Even more puzzling are the so-called out-of-place artifacts. Ops, nails embedded in ancient stone, mechanical-looking objects in coal seams, or fossilized footprints alongside dinosaur tracks. Most are explained away as modern interference or natural phenomena misidentified by known experts. Yet the volume and global spread of these findings raise a crucial question. If there were ever another industrial species before us, wouldn't the remains look just like this? It's confusing, scattered, and incomplete, just like the first scraps of human history once were. Think about it. When the first Sumerian tablets were discovered, they were misunderstood for decades. When the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro emerged, scholars debated their purpose, age, and origin for years. Now apply that uncertainty to objects found in rock hundreds of millions of years older. The idea isn't to accept every anomaly as proof of a lost civilization, but to understand that our current methods of dismissal might be too confident, it's too rigid, and too human-centric. After all, how do we know what a 100-million-year-old civilization would leave behind? Would they build pyramids, or would they encode information in durable molecules? Or carve their records on mountain ranges, or even encode their legacy into DNA? Our expectations of technology are based on our own path. A prior civilization might have evolved in ways utterly alien to our understanding, leaving behind markers that we're not even trained to see. The Silurian hypothesis reminds us that absence of evidence is not always evidence of absence. And that's what makes these anomalies, from metallic spheres to ancient machines in coals, so haunting. Not because they prove a prior civilization existed, but because they remind us that if it had, this is exactly the kind of confusing evidence we'd expect to find. And so, these odd relics, half artifact, half mystery, might be more than just geological curiosities. They might be the silent echoes of a world long forgotten, waiting to be recognized by a civilization humble enough to admit it might not be the first. What if intelligence isn't a one-time evolutionary miracle? What if instead it's a recurring pattern, a natural consequence of life, given enough time and the right conditions? If so, then it's not only possible that another intelligent species once walked this earth before us, it's likely. Modern evolutionary biology tells us that intelligence is just one adaptive strategy among many. The octopus, the dolphin, the crawl show signs of complex cognition. Some primates use tools. Elephants grieve their dead. If a single asteroid hadn't ended the reign of the dinosaurs 66 million years ago, many scientists believe that the Troodontida, small, highly intelligent, bird-like dinosaur, might have continued evolving towards sentience. In fact, some speculative paleontologists have imagined what such a being might have looked like. Upright, with three-fingered hands, binocular vision, a large brain, and possibly even a language. Nicknamed the Dinosauroid, this hypothetical species suggests a stunning possibility. Intelligence doesn't need humans to exist. It may have happened before, it may happen again, and it may look nothing like us. The Silurian hypothesis doesn't claim that dinosaurs built cities, or that reptilian aliens once ruled the earth, but it does raise a chilling question. If intelligence evolved once, why not earlier? Why not more than once? After all, Earth is over 4.5 billion years old. Complex multicellular life has existed for over 600 million years. In that vast ocean of time, our entire civilization has existed for barely a blink. So what if other blinks happened before us? Life has been wiped out and rebooted multiple times: the Permian extinction, Cambrian die-off, asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, and ice ages. After each cataclysm, life starts over, but often stronger, more complex, and more adaptable. It's a pattern. Catastrophe followed by progress. Could this cycle have once led to something like us, or even greater than us? And if it did, would it not rise, fall, and vanish just like we might? If we consider intelligence not as a fluke, but as an emergent trait of evolution, then civilizations like ours might be part of Earth's natural rhythm. They may rise in different forms: insectoid hives, reptilian empires, silicon-based beings, or entirely unrecognizable intelligences, only to be buried by time and forgotten. This leads us to the haunting idea that Earth could be a haunted planet, haunted not by ghosts but by the memory of minds long gone. And maybe, just maybe, the reason we've never found them is because their remains are too old, too alien, or too thoroughly destroyed to recognize. Or perhaps the signs are all around us, but we've mistaken them for myths, misread them as natural, or ignored them because they don't fit our narrative. The question isn't just whether intelligence evolved before it's whether it left anything behind, and if so, are we ready to see it? If a civilization like ours, or perhaps far more advanced, existed millions of years ago, what kind of technology would it leave behind? Not smartphones or satellites, not skyscrapers or cars. None of the everyday things we associate with modern life would likely survive the crushing forces of time. Concrete crumbles, steel rusts, glass shatters, even plastic, which we think of as eternal, breaks down under UV radiation and biological activity. The sad truth is, almost nothing made by humans today would be recognizable after even 1 million years, let alone 100 million. But some traces could persist, not as artifacts in museums, but as geochemical signatures in the Earth's crust. Think about the way we've altered the carbon cycle by burning fossil fuels. That creates a spike in carbon isotopes that's now embedding itself into sediment layers. We've also created synthetic compounds like certain long-chain polymers and persistent organic pollutants that don't naturally occur in nature and could last for millennia under the right conditions. Then there's nuclear technology. Radioactive isotopes from nuclear tests, accidents, and power production have half-lives ranging from decades to millions of years. If another civilization had split the atom, their radioactive footprints might still echo faintly in ancient rocks. But even beyond that, some technologies might leave more exotic remnants, things we wouldn't even recognize as technology. Could a truly advanced civilization have used materials that merge with biological systems? Could they have encoded data into DNA or built devices that disintegrate entirely when exposed to air? Our understanding of advance is trapped in human terms: wires, metals, plastics, and circuits. But what if intelligence evolved to use magnetic fields, quantum resonance, or biological computing technologies that decay with no fossil trace? We might never know what we're missing. Yet there is still one domain where echoes might remain minds. Yes, minds. Industrial civilizations need resources. They dig, extract, refine. These activities leave scars on the landscape. An ancient civilization might have left behind deep mineral depletions in places like rare earth metals, uranium, or copper. If geologists found strange, unnatural concentrations or absences of such materials in strata millions of years old, it might be a clue. But who's looking for that? Almost no one, because the default assumption is that no civilization ever existed before us. The deeper tragedy is this: the most advanced civilization Earth ever knew could have lasted 500,000 years, flown to the stars, and collapsed without leaving a single monument we could confidently point to. We would be left digging in the dark, surrounded by broken hints, just as we are now. And even if we did find something, how would we know it wasn't just natural? Would we even recognize an alien form of technology if we saw it petrified, in stone, or melted into volcanic glass? Forgotten technologies may surround us already. We just haven't learned how to read them yet. In the end, it might not be about digging deeper, but thinking wider. The Silurian Hypothesis is rooted in science. But what if ancient human myths hold fragments of a memory far older than we realize? What if the stories of gods, sky people, great floods, and vanished cities are not fiction but distorted memories of a civilization that predated our own by millions of years? Every major culture across Earth carries myths of lost worlds and advanced beings. The Greeks spoke of Atlantis, a mighty civilization destroyed in a single night. The Hindus described vast battles in the skies in texts like the Mahabharata, filled with flying machines, divine weapons, and cities of gold. The Mayans, Egyptians, Sumerians all spoke of sky gods or beings who came from the stars and taught them knowledge beyond their time. These stories span continents, languages, and epochs. Could they all be lying? Or are they remembering something real but ancient beyond comprehension? Mainstream scholars dismiss such tales as metaphors or archetypes, symbolic of human fear and imagination. But what if they're echoes warped and degraded by time, of a species that existed long before Homo sapiens emerged? Imagine this: a global civilization millions of years ago reaches its peak, developing flight, perhaps even space travel. A catastrophe comes natural or self-inflicted, and the survivors flee underground, or into space, or regress into primitive forms. Thousands, even millions of years pass. Earth's surface resets. Life begins again. Then, early humans arrive. They stumble upon strange ruins, sacred mountains, unnatural lights in the sky. They meet survivors mutated, godlike, or simply alien to them, and record what they saw in the only way they could: myth. Over time, stories become scripture. Memory becomes religion. Gods become metaphors. But the origin, the spark, may have been real. Some ancient myths even describe time before time, or ages of the world before humans. The Greeks had their golden, silver, and bronze ages. The Hindus described the UGAs, long cosmic cycles with repeated rises and falls of civilizations. The Aztecs spoke of 5 suns, each sun representing a world destroyed and reborn. Could these be ancient memory codes, telling us that we are not the first, but merely the latest?
Oh.
Some myths go further, describing flying vehicles, weapons more powerful than anything modern science can explain, and beings who could control time, energy, and even weather. Are these just stories or distant memories of technologies lost to time? Consider this. When a nuclear bomb was first detonated, the only comparison scientists had was from Hindu scriptures, the Brahmastra, a weapon said to unleash the power of the sun. Coincidence? Or ancestral memory, if even a sliver of these? Myths are true if just one god, Titan. If star being was real, then we are not the first intelligent species on Earth. We are inheritors. We are the survivors of someone else's forgotten dream. Perhaps the greatest tragedy is this. We have mistaken their ruins for legends, and their warnings for fantasy. But what if they were trying to tell us something? Something about how it all ends. Earth is not a gentle planet. It breathes fire, freezes oceans, drowns continents, and rains down extinction from the stars. Again and again, it wipes the slate clean. Why, if a civilization rises on this planet, it does so on borrowed time, because extinction isn't the exception on Earth, it's the rule. Over the last 500 million years, Earth has experienced at least 5 major mass extinctions, and many more minor ones. These weren't slow declines. They were cataclysms, sudden, violent, global resets. The worst of all was the Permian Triassic extinction, about 252 million years ago, when over 90% of all life on Earth vanished. Entire ecosystems died. The ocean became toxic. The sky turned red. And anything left alive barely crawled through the ash. Then there was the one we all know, the Cretaceous-Pelagian extinction. 66 million years ago, when a 10-kilometer asteroid slammed into what is now Mexico, ending the reign of the dinosaurs in a matter of hours. Firestorms swept the globe. The skies darkened for years. It's a nuclear winter, before nuclear weapons ever existed. But what if, buried within those extinction events, are not just the ends of life, but the ends of civilizations? If a species like ours had arisen before, it would have faced the same ticking clock. An industrial society, whether powered by coal, atoms, or stars, could only run so long before the planet pulls the plug. What if the Permian event wasn't entirely natural? What if the spike in carbon, the ocean acidification, and the methane releases were the byproduct of a civilization that overreached one, that poisoned its own world and paid the price? Or what if they were simply unlucky, caught in a cosmic crossfire as Earth moved through a meteor belt? This is the dark genius of the Silurian Hypothesis. It asks us not just if someone came before us, but why they didn't survive. Answer might be the same reason we may not. Civilization is fragile. Balance is on thin threads. Climate stability, energy access, environmental stewardship. Break any one of those and collapse can come fast. History has already shown us this on small scales. The Sumerians vanished when their irrigation systems failed. The Mayans fell with drought and war. Rome crumbled under corruption, invasion, and disease. Each time, people thought their world was eternal. Each time, they were wrong. Now zoom that pattern out by a factor of 1,000. Think about a civilization millions of years ago. Maybe they had global cities. Maybe they harvested energy from the sun, the ocean, or even the Earth's core. Maybe they reached the stars. But if they lost balance, if climate changed, resources ran dry, or a war broke out, they would fall, and time would erase them. Stone turns to sand, steel becomes dust, memory becomes myth. The earth presses down, buries, forgets. A new cycle begins. That's the Great Reset. It's not a sci-fi fantasy. It's Earth's operating system. Life rises, intelligence sparks. Pride grows, then comes the fall, and then silence. Until the next time, when we ask what happened to a possible ancient civilization on Earth, we often assume one answer. They died. But what if they didn't? What if they left? If a species reached a certain level of technological sophistication, the greatest threat might not be extinction, but evolution beyond the planet. After all, even our young, fragile civilization is already talking about colonizing Mars, mining asteroids, and building habitats in space. If humanity continues its technological trajectory for another few hundred years, if we avoid self-destruction, there's a very real possibility that we could leave Earth behind entirely. Now imagine a species that reached that point 10 million, or even 100 million years ago. What if they saw the writing on the wall: environmental collapse, planetary instability, or an approaching cosmic threat, and they made the ultimate choice: abandon Earth? Perhaps they've built massive space arcs, launching entire populations into orbit, or terraformed moons and planets in our solar system. Perhaps they went further toward Alpha Centauri or beyond. Perhaps they no longer even need physical bodies. A truly advanced civilization may have transcended biology, uploading consciousness into quantum systems, or merging with AI, becoming data that floats through space as radiation or gravity waves. If so, how would we even begin to recognize them? They may have left no trace on Earth because they didn't die here. They simply moved on. And maybe they're still out there, watching. But here's the twist. They may have left something behind. Clues, markers, beacons, perhaps buried on the moon, in deep ocean trenches, or hidden beneath the ice of Antarctica. These would not be monuments or machines we recognize. They might be simple code embedded in DNA, or strange magnetic anomalies, or patterns in the cosmic background radiation. In 2004, astronomers detected what they called the WOW signal, a strange, unexplained burst of radio energy from deep space. In 2017, an object named Oumuamua passed through our solar system, so strange in its shape and motion that some scientists wondered if it was an interstellar probe. Are these coincidences, or echoes of someone else's journey? If a previous civilization fled Earth, there are only two possibilities. Either they died out in the cold vastness of space, or they survived. And if they survived, where are they now, watching us? Guiding us, avoiding us, or waiting until we are ready. The most unsettling possibility of all is this, that the Fermi paradox, the question of why the universe seems so silent, has a terrifying answer. That civilizations rise, expand, leave their home planets, and then disappear. Maybe it's not because they die. Maybe it's because they become something else, something we can no longer recognize. And maybe we are next. What if the reason we can't find the civilization that came before us is because we are them, not in memory, but in blood, bone, and DNA? What if the ancient ones didn't vanish but devolved, collapsed, or were genetically altered into what we now call humans? It's a terrifying yet oddly poetic idea that the next civilization isn't always built after the fall, but from within its ashes. Evolution is not always a straight line. It mutates, fragments, resets, and sometimes it forgets. Could an ancient species, faced with catastrophe, have retreated into survival mode, shedding their technology, their culture, even their intelligence, to become simpler, more adaptable life forms? Over millions of years, such survivors could evolve into entirely new species. Is it possible that somewhere in our DNA lie remnants of those who once ruled the Earth? Not just symbolic remnants, but genetic sequences, memory patterns, instinctive knowledge? Modern science has already uncovered junk DNA, vast regions of our genetic code whose purpose we don't fully understand. Could they be remnants of another kind of biology, one engineered, hybrid, or lost? Could traits like empathy, mathematical, intuition, or even the desire to look at the stars be inherited instincts, passed down from a civilization that once stood where we now do? Ancient human myths speak of a fall from greatness, the biblical tale of Eden, the Sumerian accounts of divine human hybrids, the Hindu stories of godmen. All describe humanity as once being closer to the divine, now living in a shadow of what we used to be. Could that be metaphor or memory? There are even bizarre anomalies in anthropology's sudden leaps in brain size. Unexplained gaps in the fossil record, the appearance of advanced symbolic thought in humans without gradual buildup. What if our leap to intelligence wasn't natural at all, but triggered. What if it was part of a Sakula reboot, not a beginning? Some scientists have even speculated that Homo sapiens could be the result of ancient bioengineering and experiment. By a prior species to preserve themselves, altered and simplified to survive a harsh post-cataclysmic world. And as the world healed, their descendants surge again. If true, this would mean we are not just the inheritors of a lost civilization. We are its fragments, its living echoes. But if so, then why don't we remember? Because memory fades. Because millions of years grind down not just buildings, but stories. And because maybe, just maybe, we were meant to forget until now. Till this moment when humanity begins reaching back to the stars, discovering quantum fields and questioning its place in the cosmos. Perhaps the final clue is this: our obsession with finding lost civilizations, our myths, our dreams, our fears, all centered around forgotten empires and worlds before time. Maybe that obsession is not curiosity.
Ow.
Maybe it's genetic memory, a cry echoing through time, trying to tell us who we once were and who we might become again. And now we ask the question that has haunted every page of this journey: are we truly the first civilization on Earth, or just the latest? All the signs point toward a disturbing possibility that Earth is not the cradle of a single intelligent species, but the womb of many. That consciousness, technology, and civilization are not unique miracles, but recurring symptoms of a planet that keeps trying again and again. And every time the story follows the same arc: rise, advance, overreach, collapse, forget, repeat. It is the ultimate cosmic cycle. Civilizations are not permanent, they are seasonal. Just like forests burn and regrow, just like rivers dry and flood, intelligent life may bloom, die and bloom again, each time completely unaware of the last. If the Silurian hypothesis is correct, then we are living on the bones of worlds we cannot even imagine, cities swallowed by tectonic churn, technologies that turned to dust before mammals even existed, languages never written, histories never told. But the most haunting truth of all is this: we might be standing at the same edge they once stood on. We, too, are pushing our planet to the brink: climate change, extinction, nuclear tension, AI, space ambitions. Just like them, we've built monuments. Just like them, we believe we will last forever. And just like them, we might vanish. One asteroid, one war, one collapse. That's all it takes. And then we will become what they became: a question, a myth, layer of sediment. Perhaps one day, millions of years from now, another species will rise. Perhaps they will dig up strange anomalies, detect fossilized plastic, or find radioactive isotopes where none should be. And perhaps they will ask, were we the first? Or did someone come before us? They will wonder about us, as we now wonder about the Silurians. And so the cycle will begin again. What's terrifying is not that the Silurian hypothesis might be true. What's terrifying is that it makes too much sense. Earth has had the time, it has the scars, and it has the silence, long, deep silence in which entire empires could have bloomed and died unnoticed. So what does this mean for us? It means that we are not at the peak of history. We are just another turn of the wheel, and perhaps our only hope of breaking the cycle is to recognize it, to learn not just from our past, but from the forgotten past of those who came before. If we can listen, we can adapt. If we can humble ourselves before the scale of time, only then might we become not the next to fall, but the first to remember.